Got the super chat on so you can contribute to the channel. Also, you can join us on Patreon. And also, if you grab the Amazon link down in the description section of any of the videos, you can help support the channel as well. All right. So spring practice, as you just mentioned to me, starts on March 19th. So as things stand right now, of course, once they hit the field, then guys will get nicked up. There will be reports of guys overachieving, underachieving, and then you react to what you hear and what you see. But as it stands right now, what are you looking for?
Player development is of the utmost importance over the spring because, this is a time to really do that, have player progression and things. So, you're talking about guys taking a leap between freshman, sophomore, junior. This is the time between that year or those seasons that the progression is seen. So I really want to see that. Obviously, kind of figuring out what the early starting lineups are going to be, offense and defense. Obviously, want to see how the new guys are integrated into the defense because, Miami's defense is losing a fair amount of guys when you look at, 4 or 5 guys off the defensive line, 3 starters in the secondary. That was the #1 pass defense in college football, obviously, from last year. So there are players that need to be replaced. Gerald Willis is no longer on the roster, and Gerald Willis was a man, amongst men last year. He should have been first-team All-American in my mind. Should have been, obviously first-team All-ACC, but, Clemson bias. So, you put a player who is good but did not perform as well as Gerald Willis on first team because, Miami went 7-6, but that's beside the point. So replacing a Gerald Willis, a Jaquan Johnson, who was, heart and soul of the defense, Michael Jackson, who was very, very good. He developed over his time in Miami, in a pretty much perfect progression. Replacing those guys on defense and seeing what that next kind of unit is going to look like is very important. And I saved it for last. And I know people have been, as I've been talking and you've been listening to this or watching this, thinking, hey, Cam, are you going to say it? Absolutely. Offense. I want to see it. I need to see what it's going to be like. I want to see how it's going to be different than, the Mark Richt. We've been doing these same plays for 30 years. And even the people know that they're coming, anytime you go I formation, we're going to go fullback dive, except for one time they threw like a fullback flat pass or something. But like literally, I think every time they lined up an I formation last year, it was a fullback dive. I want to see what Dan Enos is going to bring. We were, kind of tongue in cheek joking. Mike Harley put up a screenshot on, I think it was on Snapchat, somebody screenshotted it and put it on the timeline on Twitter about, hey, we're looking at the offensive install meeting for motions. And everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to have motion. But nobody's moved on Miami's offense in 6 years or more. I mean, Miami will line up, and if you win the routes because we have better receivers, cool. Or what, there was no kind of subterfuge. No, there was just no moving parts. But seeing that even on screen, just the U logo, and it says motions, mind blowing. That's crazy. Jeff Thomas, why are we not running him on a reverse? Mark Pope, why are these other kind of things? And then obviously with that embedded is, what is the offensive line going to look like? Who's going to start at running back? And of course, who's going to start at quarterback, the most important position on the field. So all those things are kind of wrapped up in the offense. But yeah, I really just want to see how the guys are progressing, what things they're doing better, how they're closing the gaps in their game or highlighting the things that they do well. And yeah, we're going to get some kind of scoring system from practices. We're going to get them from, the scrimmages. There's going to be a spring game, I think, somewhere. And there's going to be a scoring system from that. But yeah, I really just, the main things, if I broke it down into 2 components that I'm looking for spring, player progression, and then what the new units are going to look like on offense and defense. And that includes all the starters and especially the scheme on offense. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for spring, and we'll see what happens.
Isn't running a guy in motion one of the basic concepts of at least forcing the defense to show its initial hand? At least you're getting some kind of indicator from running a guy in motion to see what are they going to do to pick up that guy in motion. Number one, so it's very basic offense to run a guy in motion to see what the defense is going to do. Number two, if you're going to set up a play for the guy in motion, depending on the reaction time of the player, it's just like running a pick in basketball or football. that it's not a surprise to the defense when they see it coming, but it's just difficult to defend because the guy just has a head start in regards to spacing. And so that's why you do that. But that's just two reasons.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, there's so many different kinds of motion. You got jet motion, you got orbit motion. You know, you can even do short motion where you're in a normal 2x1, or two receivers on one side and then one on the other side, kind of formation. So a 2x1, and then you just take that outside receiver and motion them inside, and all of a sudden, those receivers, instead of being next to each other, they're stacked. And you got to figure out, okay, now the defense is going to say, okay, how are we going to deal with stack releases? Like, who's going to take, like, do you renumber them? Like, who takes the first one? Who takes the second one? Like, what if there's an outbreaking, in-breaking? Like, there are things that the defense has to do to deal with receivers in a stack versus a side-by-side alignment. And you can change those responsibilities and bring those into question. And Dan Enos has said he wants to put defenses in conflict, which is exactly something like that. So yeah, I mean, it does not need to be a Matt Canada offense, which is going to come out, shift, motion, stop, shifting. It doesn't have to be all of that, but to have somebody move from where they lined up to somewhere else is going to be revolutionary for Miami Hurricanes offense, which is crazy to think about, but it's true. So, like I said, I want to see how that works. And then, yeah, I mean, I did bury the lead because, we still don't know about Tate Martell. But yeah, I want to see who plays quarterback. Obviously, I want to see who wins it. And, like I've said for a long time, I am a N'Kosi Perry fan, but I'm a fan of the best quarterback for the University of Miami.